Hi there. This is part one of the financial forecast Excel tutorial that we created for our JG Wine Launch capstone project. Right now, you'll see on the screen, this is the first tab of the model that we made for you. I'm not going to go over it in detail, but it does represent instructions, which we'll be talking about within this video. Just to orient you across the bottom, the next tab is results and assumptions. When we're looking at this, all we used it was as a copy and paste place for you to call out your critical assumptions, which are over on the right hand side of the screen. You have best case, which we talk about in our memo. We have the practical compromise, which we also talk about in that memo. And then we're looking at it for year one and year two. As you're using this tool for yourself, you can change whatever you want to call the scenarios that you're running through for the years you're running through. But this does call out along the side here what your assumptions are going to be, which we'll show in a moment that these are basically your levers that drive where you're going to end up in terms of your net income based on a scenario. So as you can see, we have cost per case. We had as another lever how many hours you're going to be accumulating with your accounting firm that you're outsourcing to. We have the assumptions around your marketing retainer and also sales event, marketing event budget, and travel expense. Down here, this section for Reserve and Armstrong Estate, those are the two different price levels. And then we have various channels and assumptions around that. So retail sales channel, wholesale channels, and FOB, which represents distributors. And then also assumptions around if you're giving away any bottles as well. Down here on the bottom, this GCWB just represents how many gallons of wine is going to be sold over to your other brand to be bottled. Over here on the left-hand side of the screen with the scenario results, this was just copy and paste of the results as we went through different scenarios. So you could just see it neat in one place. So you can use this at your will for summarizing your own results. So let's get into the meat of things. You'll see that we have two tabs, year one and year two. They're formatted exactly the same, but I'll run through year one. I'll first call out that a key thing to know with this Excel file is that your green cells, which you'll see all throughout this Excel, those are the ones that are your levers. So these are going to be the cells that you can change based on your assumptions to see what is ultimately going to drive value for your organization, or maybe what is going to negatively impact it. And so it's really critical to just stick within the green cells, because anything that's not a green cell is tied to a formula. And unless you feel like you want to go changing formulas, I highly recommend not playing with them, as it'll create a cascading effect of messing with a bunch of other Excel cells as well. Quick orientation to the top. This is your P&L, just showing ultimate profit, losses. It's a really basic income statement, and it does take into account corporate tax rate as well within Oregon. And then we do also have total cases that are getting included within it as well. It's just basically a summary section up here at the top, and that all gets affected by what happens down here within the actual scenario analysis. So we'll just walk through really quick here. You'll see that we have an entire section here on the left that represents your revenue. We do it for the $70 wine, the $45 wine, and then we also do it for the gallons of wine that you'll sell over. This little middle piece that you see here, that represents part of your key assumptions, and there are sources and notes along the side that will tell you how things are connected to each other or calls out how calculations happened. So we can do a quick example here of showing how changing revenue can impact things. So let's say we'll have a wild hair that the Reserve brand gets released early in year one, and you're going to have 50 cases. And maybe you're going to have 2 cases that you give away. And we'll go over to the assumed channel mix. And let's say you're going to sell 30 cases by retail and 15 cases by wholesale and 10 by FOB. And you see, as I was doing that, all of these cells are getting updated. And you can look up at the top as that's happening, and sure enough, your net income just changed a decent amount. Also changed with your per case sold, which looks at your revenue per case sold, COGS per case sold, etc. It also updated how many total cases you sold within that year. You could also play and say, let's say I want to change the price of the bottle and it's going to be $90. Sure enough, again, you'll see up here, net income changed and is getting reflected based upon what you just changed. We're going to go back to the world as it was before. And I'll show you the other side, which is your costs. On the same side, you'll see that you can change your costs based on your assumptions of what grapes cost per ton, production costs per ton, etc. So then you can play with just looking at how your production costs would change over time. You have some pretty critical assumptions here in terms of your tons of grapes that get harvested and your assumed case yield per ton. You also get down here and it gets into the details of other expenses such as accounting, which included all the levels of fees that you provided us. You have marketing expenses. We also captured the opportunity cost of giving away wine, because you have an opportunity cost that is profit that you're not going to recognize, which these automatically update, and even you don't even need to fill these guys in if you don't want to. It's automatically connected. Lastly, there are assumptions around your budget and expenses that you can add within here as well. So I'll just really quick run through and play with a little bit. You can, let's say you had 3 tons of grapes and production went up to 3,000. Take a look over here. Sure enough, things changed. Net income overall went down. If you go, let's say you change your marketing retainer and it got cheaper to 1,000. Again, you can go up, look over, and sure enough, net income changed overall. So that's a brief summary of how to use this tab, and you can go over to year 2 and it's built exactly the same. You have the option of creating as many copies of this as you want by simply just right-clicking, choose Move or Copy, then you can click, choose Create Copy, hit OK, and sure enough, you've got a new copy. So thanks for watching the tutorial of the first half of this Excel file for financial forecasts, and stay tuned for version 2, which will go over a linear program that we developed for you to do scenario analysis.